Is this finally working? Is it finally working? Welcome to No So True. This next episode I am very, very excited for. I actually recorded this kind of like commentary before, but that audio rather did not record. So we are back at it again. But you know what? I'm really trying to channel the idea that, anytime something happens, anytime there's a fib or a mess up, that is just fate's way of redirecting you and challenging you to do it even better. So here we go. You are in for a treat because we are going into the comedian territory. Truly one of my actual all-time favorite comedians. He is a Vulture top comedian you should know. His stand-up is huge. He's been featured on Comedy Central. He's gone viral many a time on his social media. He's been on The Late Late Show with James Corden famously during its last season, which he also wrote for Dylan Adler. He embodies like a whole different type of stand-up comedy that I have not seen before. Ultimately, like he's just a bundle of joy and also craziness and evilness, which is something that he makes a part of his comedy, which is awesome. You're gonna want to tune in. You are in for a special treat. Without further ado, I am excited to bring my friend, who I'm so grateful to be able to call a friend, Mr. Dylan Adler. Yee! How are we doing today?
Oh my God. Well, today I'm doing okay. It's my boyfriend's birthday week, so I'm just preoccupied with that. And to be honest, yesterday I made a horrible driving mishap. It was like a 3-lane fast, and I went the opposite direction, and I saw headlights coming. Like it literally could have been.
Where? On a highway?
No, not on a highway, but on like a fast street. And I was driving someone else. I'm like, I need to get a. What am I doing? Oh my God. So there's a little bit of that, honestly. But
wait, what made you do that? What compelled you to do that?
Because on my phone, it's like, make a U-turn. I'm like, oh, well, I'll just make the U-turn right now. And I didn't realize the other side of the street was past the median. And I'm like, oh my God.
You U-turned before the.
I like U-turned into the one lane. And then I'm like, oh my God. And
so you're good at U-turns then. That's pretty good. What do they call it? Vehicle.
No.
Turn radius?
No, don't give this to me. Do not give this to me. So I'm just kind of like, being like, okay, you have to really step up your driving.
Are you bad at driving?
I'm not the best.
We first met probably 3 years ago now.
Yes.
But I went to your show at
Littlefield. Oh
yeah.
my God.
And I was with my like best friend. I texted them today, being like, oh my God, I'm gonna like interview Dylan, and because we were like obsessed with.
Oh, that is show. That's really so nice.
Of course.
So nice.
And I feel like what I just love about your comedy and your art is it feels so distinctly you, and it feels like the amalgamation of so many things. Like you can tell that you're a musical theater.
Yeah.
And do you compose? Like it's.
I used to, and that was like what I wanted to do in college, and I wanted to like write for theater and write music, and so that's
really?
kind of yeah.
Okay, because there's that, and then I feel like in a word, I would just be like, you just perfect chaos. And like a lot of people, especially I feel like gay queer comedians try to do chaos, but I feel like when I think of chaos, I think of you, like the backflips and the songs and the spiraling. When do you feel like you kind of crafted that element?
When it comes to like chaos and like and trying to like control chaos and stuff, I think I think that was just kind of like something that it wasn't like ever like a conscious decision, like I'm gonna be chaos. But it tends to be the things that I like to talk about on stage that I find the most, I don't know, interesting, or I feel like most compelled to say, or something that makes me something that makes me laugh and want to share. When I went to college, I wanted to be a film scorer. That's like the first thing that I like. Hans Zimmer, John Williams, and Danny Elfman. And then I fell in love with musical theater and wanted to write for that, and like fell in love with songwriting musical theater. And then after taking one elective acting class, I was like, oh my God, improv is I love improv.
Wait, was this in art school?
Yes, it was at NYU.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Of course you went to NYU. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
I know. And the students deserve the rap that we get. And
they do churn out great comedians and artists, and
I like people in my class. I'm like, oh my God, like everyone, like the people, I'm like, they're killing. I got Rachel Sennett her fake ID.
Girl.
Isn't that wild? Yes, I did.
Serious?
It was a group of like 20 students that I organized, and it was like we all emailed, and I wired money to China, and then we got it freshman year, and then it sort of came in this backpack that we're like, oh my God, we just got scammed. But my roommate was like, cut open the backpack, and then IDs fell. And then
not open alone with a zipper?
No. We had to cut it open with a knife because it was in the seam of the backpack. It was wild.
So that's like so interesting, because I feel, having seen your comedy, like of course you could compose and be a film scorer, but on the other hand, I feel like I couldn't see your personality like being in that totally, in the sense that I feel like it wouldn't necessarily be all for you, not the other way around. Like you could do it, but like you're so fun and
I appreciate. Yeah, because to me, like, and I was like taking that as a compliment, but it's not. It's just like how it is.
Oh yeah.
And it's just because it's like. No, I mean, like, I was like, oh no, the music composers, blah. No, but like, they were great, but I did feel like I didn't fit in with them, and I felt like very extroverted, and I wanted to like, and like, I was really jealous of the Tisch arts. I wasn't in them, but I was like, I was in that. I was jealous of them because they got to be like expressive and got to do that. So I was like, kind of envious, and I feel like when I started comedy, I was like getting a little slice of that. I'm like, oh my God, this feels really great, and I really want to continue doing this and going down this path.
And could you pinpoint a moment, or was there some kind of shift where you were like, oh, now there's no going back, and this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I think it was junior to senior year. I was in school, but I was just doing mics every single night. After the class, which we did improv in, there was someone told me like, oh, let's go to a jam. Let's all go to an improv jam, which is like where anyone can go and do an improv jam. So we went there, and it was so fun. Like, I sucked, and I'm like, no, I want to do that again and do it better. And so like then we like would keep going, and then I made other friends at the jams, and then I became like really close friends with someone who I love and still close with, Xavier Pearson, who we would do like open mics together, and we kind of like got addicted to we would like on Sundays we would do improv jams from 12 to 12. Isn't that wild?
Oh.
I think I just loved that it was like, it felt dangerous, but it also felt like it's connecting in this way that's like really exciting, and it felt, and it's like I'm an extrovert, so I wanted that kind of like human interaction. And for music, the way that you work on, at least for composition, is like collaborating with other people, but then there's a big element of locking yourself in a practice room. And I would do this, lock myself in a practice room until like 4 a.m. and try to write, which is torturous for like an extrovert. And I'm like, I felt like I was torturing myself trying to write. But I'm like, comedy, how you get better is by doing comedy with other people. Like the fact that a part of getting better at comedy was feeding off other people's energy was like, wow. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
That's the way you're supposed to work on, and it didn't feel like work. It's like, this is my best part of the day.
You get better at comedy by doing the comedy and doing it with people. Is that still that kind of spark that drives you?
100% for stand-up. 100%. That's like, and I don't do improv really anymore, and I miss it. I love it, but stand-up is really what
What happened?
I know. Like, I think that what happened with improv, and like, I loved UCB and the whole thing of it all. I got onto a mod team right before pandemic, which was like a dream of mine, but I was like losing money doing it because you have to pay for and I was making money.
You have to pay to be on the team?
Yes, to do the rehearsals. And that was like an issue with that was like something that came up with the theater, that it was like they weren't paying their performers, and I just kind of was feeling like I'm losing money, and I want to try to make more of, and I also like that with stand-up I love that there's material you can actually work on, and that there's material that you can literally like tweak, and material that you can use, whether it be you could put it wherever you want to put it, and because with improv it went away, and it was harder to gauge. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm getting better at this. With stand-up, I'm like, there is like more of a modicum of like, oh, okay, I can feel.
Hey Siri, what does modicum mean?
Like, by editing this joke does better, and I'm trying, and there was a little more of a modicum of like being where I could improve.
Monica Street. No.
Monocle means a single eye.
Does monicum. Modicum. Oh, with the D. Modicum is a moderate or small amount. Okay, so it really wasn't worth it.
I started 7-8 years ago.
Yeah,
in New York.
When I look at your career, I mean, girl, you've ascended really fast, like in the grand scheme of things, right? And I mean, you've written for James Corden, you had your own solo show, and it's pronounced House of Dylan.
Yeah.
Yes. When you think of where you are now, because do you not like tell people your age?
Oh, no, I tell, I'm 27, I'm about to turn 28.
Like, with where you are in your career at 27, in your 20s even, like, how do you think about that? Are you where you dreamt that you were going to be? I just say this because you have accomplished so much, I feel.
First, I appreciate that very much.
Oh, I mean, you have a following. Like, I was gonna say a cult following, but it's not a cult following because it's large. But the following that you have, people are like obsessed.
I do feel like there have been like opportunities that I feel that I didn't expect. I literally did not expect at all I would get the Late Late Show job.
Yeah.
And I truly like the packet I submitted, I thought was the shittiest one I've ever done. Truly. And I submitted it at 4 a.m. While on K at Provincetown, because I'm like, oh, fuck, wait, I have to, and like, my manager was like really like, you gotta, come on, get on this. But I do feel like, sometimes people will get things, it seems like very early. And then some people, it's like, maybe something doesn't like spark, but it doesn't mean that all the work that every comic that I know is doing, no work is ever gone to waste. Because like some of the people who like don't get a special for a while and then they do get their special, that special is unbelievable because they have an arsenal of like unbelievable material that they're just unleashing, and the world is like, oh my God, where have you been? And they've been like, I've been out here so long. Like stuff goes up and down, and I feel like after the Late Late Show and some stuff, like a little bit of momentum was like stopped from the like writer's strike and other things, among other things. But it kind of like it goes in waves and stuff. Like sometimes some things shoot up and then it like goes down, and you have to kind of, am I making sense?
Don't compare your present to someone else's peak. Girl, I literally didn't even know that I was gonna say that. That was not planned. That was entirely improvised. Cool. That was cool. It's really comforting hearing him talk about, like, even the people that you think are immediate successes, the ones who are earlier bloomers, like, yeah, that could happen by some metric. And then, life kind of continues. But for those late bloomers, maybe they don't get it early, but when they do get it, it is absolutely amazing. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. And I love that because for me, I spent so much of my time feeling like I had to get whatever that thing was as soon as possible, which kind of led me astray and like didn't allow me to actually know what it is that I want. It seems like Dylan has really made it work out for himself where it's like with the ups and downs, with all the bullshit that is the industry and that can be in this profession, at the end of the day, he loves the thing that he's consistently fueling.
Me and my friends talk about all the time. It's like, sometimes you feel like, oh yes, things are going great. And you're like, wait. I'm trying all these things and it doesn't feel like it's working. And
Yeah.
But I think like for me, the thing that remains consistent that like always, no matter if it goes well or bad, that always excites me is live performing, doing material, trying out material and editing that. And no matter how like an audition or like development things or writing or whatever job happens, it's like to be able to like still like go up and perform and try out things is like I've sometimes felt like, oh my God, nothing's going right, blah, blah, blah. And then like after a stand-up show, I'm like, oh my God, that yay, this is yeah. Like feeling like creatively and like excited again.
Yeah, and I think that's what I respect so much about comedians and you in the sense that you're performing all the time, whether it's in Tacoma.
Yes.
You're gonna perform here like how many shows in this tour?
Yeah, no, in LA it's like a run of like 10 shows in LA.
A lot.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I feel that like this is what sets I think like you apart from maybe other creators or other forms of artists is that no matter what, you're going to be able to do the thing that you love to do. And I think it's exciting to see just how much that joy that brings to you when the other things maybe aren't working or you're not like whatever.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you like perform multiple times now, and I feel like that energy hasn't dissipated, and the material has consistently gotten better and better. How do you make touring work for you? We were talking about Brat.
Yes, Charlie XCX.
Like
I feel like I'm on that Brat tour life. I mean, her and my tour just kind of this,
Yeah, can touring be hard?
It can, 100%.
Yeah.
And this was my first solo tour. And I had a great time, learned a lot.
Yeah.
It was very emotionally. I actually like sleptwalked 2 times in a row for the first time because I was so stressed at a hotel. And I would not have known if not like my friend Kelly was sleeping in the bed next to mine, who was opening for me. One of my best friends, love her. She said that I got up and was like, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe she didn't try to like or just exercise the demon and so it was stressful but great, but it was like it is mentally taxing, but it is something that I do want to do and continue to do because even just seeing like Otsuko and opening for her and seeing the way she has built her audience, and she's like a huge role model for me, and like the way
they're like good friends, right?
She's like, I love her. She's like one of my really, really, really close, great friends in LA, and like seeing the way that she is always working on not just her material but the delivery of her material, and seeing the way like it elevates the jokes that are already like hitting. It's like really, really cool to watch.
I actually just watched her special for the first
time. Oh my God, on HBO, The Intruder.
Yeah, and I see that. Like, I think it's so remarkable how she's able to react to her own stuff or react to people reacting to her stuff in a way that I feel like is pretty unique to her style.
Yeah.
Like, she'll say something, people laugh, and she'll be like, no.
Yeah.
And it's
it's because it's those reps of doing it, the audience reacts that way, and then she knows to react. It's kind of like it builds on itself.
Yeah.
Because like the first time you do it, you don't always know how the audience is gonna be like. And if you know how the audience will, then you can kind of pounce on. So seeing the way she's done that in this next special, oh my God, this next special, she's gonna film it. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Okay. Are you opening again?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So yeah.
Do you have a favorite thing that you do?
Oh, my favorite thing is when I am working on a joke and then I add physicality and movement to it. I love doing that. And I love,
Okay.
yeah. And
Mizu?
sure, yes. Adding the step ball change, adding the little,
The production.
yes. The show, Kate Berlant, the moment that made me laugh the hardest, I was crying laughing the whole show. But I was a pool of tears when she was just like making, she was up close, you could see her whole face, and she was just like making silly faces, I'm like, she's making me cry laughing just by making silly, goofy faces, and that's like, a silly, goofy face is, I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta make a silly, goofy face. My favorite is like, I think Margaret Cho does that beautifully where she has the solid joke and it's like, there's other elements to it where like physicalness and the commitment to it and that just like elevates it and that's like my favorite thing to watch.
When you see yourself 10, 20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to stay present, but
Yeah.
like, is it kind of the stand-up that excites you the most? Is it more like movies direction, film direction, or is it just kind of like see where the wind continues to take?
To me, like a career like Joel Kim Booster's is really exciting and is like he's like also a role model to me. You
guys are probably also friends, right?
I want to be.
Yeah.
Like we're friendly with each other, but whenever I hang out with him, I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, can we be?
I've also been incredibly
right?
nervous.
Yes, no, I get that. Because like, it's like the cool kids. It's kind of like high school sometimes. It's like, oh my God, the cool kids. Like that's how I felt when I first met Bowen or Matt and Joel and that whole crew of people. To answer the question, to be able to like have a special and to be able to like write and star in like a feature is definitely something I would love to be able to do.
Do you know what the feature would be about?
I'm writing one about me and my. It's basically Bring It On, but gaysian Bring It On.
Good.
About yeah, cheerleading.
Cheerleading?
Yeah. And me and my brother tumbled, and we kind of like yeah. And we just love cheerleading, so it's kind of a movie about that.
Like, how is it for you to know that all of these things that you did in your past self, perhaps before you envision yourself as a comedian, like all of those are a part of your stand-up?
Mm-hmm.
The tumbling, the composition, all of it. Like, is that must be really like fulfilling in a way.
It is, because like I really like for many years didn't think of myself as a performer. In high school, my teacher would literally be like, oh, Dylan, you were good, but you have to speak up. You have to speak up in your presentation. And I'm like, you're ready, just speak up. So I was very shy. And then like, I feel like finding performance, it is great that I got to incorporate things from my past life of piano and tumbling and gymnastics and work it into the comedy act. Yeah.
Okay, pause. Not to throw any shade, Dylan, if you're listening to this, I am sorry, but I was kind of shocked when he said that his drama teacher was like, you need to speak up. Speak up? I thought you were going to get the note that all of us have gotten, which is, can you do that a little bit more grounded? Like, there's just a little bit too much energy. We just want to make him feel like he's like a real person, which like literally just means like you're acting too gay. It's so beautiful when you can kind of look back and be like, oh yeah, I had no idea what I was doing, or I did think I knew what I was doing at that time, and I had a totally different vision, a totally different dream, but little did I know that would be totally not what I'm doing now. but it helped him get to this thing, which helped him get to that thing, which helped him get to that thing, and da-da-da-da-da-da. For me, when I was younger, and I think this is kind of similar to like a scarcity mindset kind of vibes, you know what I mean? Is like, I need to have tunnel vision and I need to have commitment to that dream and that end goal. And every little thing that I do needs to be this calculated kind of formula to get there. But no, girlies, that is not how life works out. Fuck that end goal. Maybe I don't know what that is, but I'm confident that every single thing that I'm doing, if I'm being in the present and if I'm enjoying the pursuit now, like I know that eventually all of these things will come together. Dylan's version of that is like, yeah, maybe he didn't become a composer, or maybe he didn't become like a fucking tumbler or gymnast or cheerleader. But all of those parts of him came together to form the unique, unprecedented fortress that is his comedy. You talked about how you're dating.
Yes.
You guys are going to
yes.
Disneyland.
We're going to Disneyland. It's going to be a surprise but this pod, it'll be out by the time we go to Disneyland.
Right.
So yes, I have a boyfriend. We're coming up on a year.
Wow,
Soon.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I always love talking with other gay Asians about like that part of it too.
For sure.
For me, I feel like that has been such a big part of my life, is like being Asian within the gay community and all of the bullshit that arises from that.
Yes.
And, you know, feeling like rejected and ugly.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
And by the way, do you see this? Fucking 10 out of 10. Are you kidding?
Real talk though, if you're an Asian and or queer and or both, just a reminder that you are a hot girl. You may not have been told this enough when you were in high school or middle school, and you've compensated in various ways. Maybe you have a weirdo haircut. Maybe you have a bowl cut. Maybe you have a mullet. Maybe you wear your very extensive eyeliner. Maybe you don't do any of those things. You're hot. Just remember that. Hot is a mindset, brats.
I came out officially like after high school, and it was college. I was in New York. I downloaded Grindr.
Good.
And I think I was just basically like
First time you downloaded Grindr was when?
was in college
Okay. I
Yeah.
thought you meant okay.
when I turned 18.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Like, you know,
My first sexual experience happened when I was 19. Well, I was like kind of like I was like just hooking up and experimenting, and then like my first like, you know, my first time I bottomed.
yeah.
And it was fine. And it was like it was with this hot Vietnamese dude in San Francisco, and we're still in contact. We see each other at Bubble Tea and Bubble Tea, the gay Asian party.
Yeah, okay, the party.
Bubble Tea and Q&A in Los Angeles, was kind of funny.
Yeah. And
But
that's not like weird at all. It's like
no, I mean, yeah, he was my first, and he was like nice, and I had other sexual experiences with other guys on Grindr, and was like fairly new, and then I like experienced rape trauma, and it was like it just kind of put a little bit of a damper on like I didn't like really hook up much afterwards, and if I did, I would feel kind of like I don't like triggered, and I really, and then like that's around the time afterwards I found comedy, and so I was like really like just like really into that and focusing on that, and like would maybe occasionally hook up with, you know, or whatever, do stuff, but that wasn't like something I would do as often. And then like I feel like it took a while for me like dealing with other like trauma stuff. Like there was like a time where I like didn't even like physical contact with people and in my body, and like I didn't realize that physical contact I just didn't feel comfortable around it. And there's like a long time where I honestly didn't feel like I would like ever have a relationship or do that. And I'm like, I've heard of people that like Tim Gunn, I think, is like identifies as, and I'm like, maybe that's
God.
like I think I'm Tim Gunn. Make it work with no partner. And I'm like, maybe I'm just like that. and
And
so
was that, if you don't mind me asking, like, was that in response, you think, to the rape trauma, or was it more so like other things as well?
I think so. I think that and like in combination with other like, you know, possible childhood whatever shit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna mostly focus on comedy stuff and do that. And I did feel like comedy in a lot of ways was healing. And especially when I was working with my friend Kelly on our show, Victims Are Horny Too, that was like really cathartic and really, really great for us. And even just like the act of going out and performing and seeing friends and like that in itself was like a beautiful kind of like respite. For me in that way, 100%, it felt like, and it was always the part of my day I looked forward to the most because like at that time I was like teaching piano in the morning, which I loved. I taught little kids piano and then I walk dogs. Yeah. And accompany for improv teams and coach improv, which I enjoyed. But my favorite part of the day was being able to like go and do shows and perform.
And I remember like reading when you were talking about that show. Is there a way that I can watch that show?
Yes, it's on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get. So it's like a comedy album.
I remember reading that like you guys were kind of processing things that were said or things like weird things that therapists said to you.
Yeah.
Like what?
I know, like we've had like experience with like, and this is a common thing where therapists will like victim blame or be like,
really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like after I told my therapist about like my experiences, she was kind of like, have you always engaged in this dangerous behavior?
Oh, okay.
And
which is like,
it's like, what is
normal
this?
for gay guys too? Or,
Yeah.
having sex with strangers, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah. Or like something feeling minimized or just kind of like something feeling like dismissed. And yeah, we both have an experience with that, not just therapists, but like friends or family. So it was like really cathartic to talk to her about that stuff too.
Yeah, and you also like talked about there was kind of like an imposter syndrome, which I feel like is something that people don't think about. I mean, that's the whole premise of the show, right? Is that, like we want to have sex, we're horny.
Yeah.
But I feel like, especially for people who are not victims of rape or have not had experiences of sexual assault, that's something that just like, no, like we're not even going to think about that.
Sure. Yeah. It was kind of like being able to go into a place that felt painful and dark and couldn't be turned into that. And it's like, that's all it'll ever be, pain. But to be able to go in there and to try to make jokes and light and brevity out of it for ourselves and for other survivors and the complicated feelings that go along with it. It was a really, really cathartic experience.
Yeah, I would imagine people like felt connected to it or perhaps like even reached out to you, question mark?
Yes. There were actually a lot of gay men or men too who just like reached out like, oh my God, yeah, that I totally feel everything you're saying. And like even friends of mine who I didn't even know, they're like, oh my God, like that show, like I feel like it helped like me process something that I didn't realize because gay men's a lot of first experiences are with a stranger. There can be a power dynamic. There sometimes is a big age difference. There is sometimes like things at play that, that can, lead to things like something that's non-consensual or something that, and I think that's like something that gays like start to talk about, but it's not like, I don't think it's 100% talked about in the gay community. And, I don't know. I think that's something that it was nice that I felt like other gays were like, oh my God, yeah, I feel like, and I was like a gay guy for a while who didn't like to be touched.
Yeah.
But liked to be in like gay scenes and like, so it was hard to like, because gay guys are like, I'm gonna spank you, blah, I'm gonna put my finger, like, and so, I don't know. It was nice. It was nice to talk to other, and now I feel more comfortable with physical touch, and I love to like, like be touchy with my friends and flirty, whatever. But it was nice to be able to relate to other people on that wavelength.
I'm really happy that you did all of that because I agree, it's so not talked about. Where I feel like the majority of gay men I know, I honestly can't even think of people who like haven't been this way, have had some experience, whether it's on Grindr or often their first times where it's like traumatic or not consensual.
No, 100%. And it's, and and it's not like a lot of the time it's not 100% labeled what it is or like processed and that's like it's a very common thing, and I don't know. I think that's
definitely. And like contrasting that with gay culture, which is so, sex forward, sex positive, kind of like what you were saying, like
100%.
There's such a difference between that, which I buy into a lot.
Yes, 100%. And I do want to say I love that about the gay community as well.
Yeah. But then like it's like there's almost a disconnect with that and like the very deeply intimate, like actual personal lived experiences that I feel like a lot of us have. Like I wouldn't say that I've been like assaulted myself, but I've been in situations that I've certainly felt very dangerous, and there has been that age gap, or it's like, like strangers that you're like scared.
Sure, yeah. No, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's a real, and it's confusing because when you are having sex or when you're in that, you are experiencing like, it's just like a whole mindfuck because you're like, there's a part of you that feels attraction and horniness and then fear. And then it's weird, It's
Okay, but let's talk about it. Gay men, you are not off the hook. I think that this has been surprising to some of my non-gay friends that gay men can be terrible too. And in some ways, they can get away with shit that we're like, oh, like if you're gay, like there's no way that you can be a rapist or a bad person. No. Miss me with that shit. I'm really grateful that Dylan's talking about this because, well, one, it's a good reminder that creating art can really have healing powers. I think that that's true for me, I've also taken it a little overboard where I feel like I've overcompensated and dedicated myself fully to creativity and art in order to compensate for not feeling good about myself instead of just actually doing that internal work. Anyways, just to kind of add to that too, like sometimes holding people accountable in an anon world or a digital world is like very hard to do when you like don't even know their name. So many gay friends who I have either been raped or assaulted or had some kind of blurred line experience, typically with an older person, typically with someone who's more experienced. And it's very common, I think, that we are in situations where we're like just not made comfortable. I hear stories of perpetrators or assaulters who just kind of have the benefit of the doubt behind them. I fit in this category too, where I've definitely been in kind of a blurred line territory where I was hooking up with someone who was older and I kind of felt like they had power over me, and there was a little bit of non-consensual like slapping, like scenario like that where just like I've really had to reflect on that. And I remember when someone was telling me that, like a clinical intern, when I went and got tested, whatever. And I opened up about the situation that happened to me and how I felt a little uncomfortable, had mixed feelings. And she was like, if it wasn't communicated, that's the difference between kink and crossing a line. It's not so much about like how violent or how extreme an act is as much as it is about whether or not it was communicated and agreed upon. So yeah, I appreciate Dylan opening up about this.
Being reacclimated to kind of like being out and being in physical, and honestly, okay, being on Fire Island. The first time I went was 2021 or 2022.
Okay.
And I was so afraid, and I was like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen. And it was honestly such a like liberating sexually experience for me. And I felt like I wanted to like be in these like kind of gay spaces and kind of like
and be hot and like
see and it kind of like it was like a positive experience in that way. And I feel like after the pandemic, I also made other like queer Asian friends that I felt like really bonded to, like my friend Jess Tom and my friend Ivy Lou and Kyle Turner. And at that time in Fire Island was when Fire Island the movie came out. And so it was like gay, it felt like Gaysian like joy. And then like we watched the movie the next day. Joel Kim Booster showed up at my house. I'd never met him before, and I'm like, this is what? And then the whole cast came like
at Fire Island.
Yeah, on Fire Island, like Joel, Bowen, Matt, James Scully, like the Tomas, like the whole cast fucking shit like was on Fire Island. So it was like it was such a beautiful like experience. And then like after that, I feel like I felt like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm more open to dating, to like having like positive sexual sexual experiences and stuff. So then like at Rosemont, like which was a gay bar in New York, I saw this cute guy and I'm like, hey, I think you're really cute. Do you want to dance? And he was like, no. And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, okay. And so I kind of walked. I was like, what? Actually. And so then I city backed home by myself, which is fine.
No, okay. Yeah.
But then I got a DM on Twitter like, hey, I'm sorry. I was with my cousin. I didn't want to be weird, but I think you're cute and I think we should go on a date. And so we went on, and then like this was like, we went on like a couple dates, and this
I'm like
was
at the edge of my seat trying to figure out if this is Josh or not.
no. Well, okay, so
No, just keep going.
we went on like dates.
Sorry, Joshua. But he's gonna talk about you too. Love you, bitch.
We kind of like, we were in New York, and this was like the first time I felt like emotions and in love for someone.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, and then like he was my first boyfriend. And like I was like, the first time I'm like, oh my God, I get it. Like the love, like I get it. Like when you're in love and you're like thinking about someone all the time and you like, your body kind of craves them.
What's the feeling?
What it actually was we were cuddling and I felt like this warmth kind of in my body. And then and it was associated with a song, Songbird, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
The Naya Rivera Glee cover. Ashamed to say it, but it was that. And I kind of associated him with that. And I think that's when I'm like, oh my God, I think I actually have like real feelings for this person. And so that was my first relationship. And we were in New York we were together for about 6 months. And then I got the job for Corden, to write for Corden. I think he's 28, I'm 27. This was like our first relationships ever. And we were trying to make long distance work, but it just kind of wasn't really working. And so we kind of he broke up with me.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of hard, but then I was in LA and it took a little time to get over, but then I was back on my slut era and just kind of
great,
kind of doing that thing and being a little whore. And then I went on a date with Josh, and it was like immediate connection, and like felt like we it was like really like we were really like sweet and innocent. We didn't we didn't have sex for a while. We were like being really middle school about it. And I got feelings for him really fast. And earlier I was like, do you want to be my boyfriend? And he was like, I think I need more time. I'm like, actually, same.
That happened to me?
What? Really? Yeah, because I'm like, oh, actually, I want to wait as well. Because and that's what I was thinking first. And I think I jumped the gun. And honestly, waiting is the right idea.
I feel like when that happens, it's like, oh, there's no way this is going to work out because it didn't like perfectly happen. Or it's like, I got friend zoned, essentially.
Sure.
And so now, looking back on it, that was a very important development into the budding relationship.
I love that. No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
But at the time, I was like, oh, because you watch the shows. If you're not first choice right here, right now, like it's just never going to happen.
Sure.
I'm nobody's second choice.
But that's also, I feel like a little immature.
In my previous relationship, I also was like, do you want to be my boyfriend? And he was like, let's wait. I'm like, same. I'm like, so, but I think it was for the better because he was taking a little time, and then on my birthday, he was like, do you want to be boyfriends? And I'm like, yes!
I feel like you two are like really similar in some way.
Yes, yes.
Pretty compatible. Like, do you feel that? And do you feel like that kind of contributes to the dynamic and the flow? I
love like the fact that he's so extroverted and like, I love being able to like his friends my friends have become his friends too, and it's like
some of them more than you.
Some of them more than me. Like he's become like one of my friends. Like I'm like, bitch, you two are gonna hang out by yourselves, and now they just are. I'm like, okay, bitch. No, but it's fun because like now I don't have to like choose between like hanging out with like friends and like my boyfriend. It's like so that I like really really love. And
Does it feel like you can be like your like full self around him? Like
yes.
Okay.
The one thing we have to catch ourselves sometimes is because he's a comic too, and he's like, we like to, sometimes we have to be like, okay,
Let's stop.
enough with the bits.
Okay.
Let's be serious. And so, but you know, I like, I'm like crazy for him. I love him so much.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah, because I feel like I could see a world where, or I know some people who've kind of dated people, and this isn't just, you know, in respect to comedy, but like I could see a world where there's some level of like competition perhaps, or like it's weird. But it seems like that's not really a thing.
Not really. And I think like, you know, we're both really supportive of each other and each of our like creative endeavors that we're just kind of like, it seems like really nice and like we're really happy for each other when like we each have like a win when it comes to like something that we're excited about creatively.
So now we're going to take a little break and have a word from our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors. So about being an Asian top, let's talk about it. Truly, Dylan, like this is, in my mind, I'm like, when I heard, because it's in your comedy, I'm like, yes, like speak on it, speak into existence.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if you're comfortable, like what was that transition? Because I mean, you talked about your first experience.
Yeah.
But like, how did you know? And oh my God, I feel like I'm asking you how you knew you were gay.
No, I
How
mean,
did
no,
you
but for real, come out as,
top and like,
I know.
Yeah.
So for me, like my, I think earlier sexual experience were like bottoming and doing that stuff.
which I feel is especially for like when you're younger too.
Yes, yeah, I know, 100%. And I feel like before the pandemic, when I was younger on the sexual scene, I was like, oh my God, a young Asian bottom. And like, that's how I was like seen as, and like how everyone's like kind of like, yeah, like all the.
Because I would imagine at that time people weren't really being like, well, actually, were people asking you like, are you half Asian? Are you Japanese? Are you Chinese?
Yeah. And you know, like there in the gay community, there's like the weird fetishization and fucking like the rice queens of it all, and the
You know 'em.
yeah, you know, I know all of them. I think.
Yeah, especially in SF.
Oh, like yeah.
I have
Oh my
this
God.
bit, tangent. But I have this bit where I'm like for the worst, like for me in SF11, and
Oh my God. Yes.
I had this
Yes.
one time we were there for.
Wait, no,
Pride.
I feel that. I feel that so.
Yeah, I'm like a
Honestly,
LA like.
I love. No, shut the fuck up. You're fucking 20s across the board.
But in SF11,
No.
and it's not a good.
No. Yeah. No, I feel
Yeah.
that. I wasn't seen as like a top, and I feel like I like that's what I like to do mostly sexually.
Yeah.
And I think it's, and in my set I say it's crazy that I'm a top, not because I'm Asian, but because I'm like, you know, because of how I behave. That I act like a you know, like a bottom.
Sure.
And so I'm like, that's what people should be confused about. But I also feel like I might be verse.
Good.
So I might be verse. I think I'm growing. And honestly, it's the thing of like feeling, you know, trauma stuff and being afraid to like kind of do things again. But I think with someone I trust, like my boyfriend, I don't know. We'll see.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're allowed to feel more comfortable.
Yeah, allowed to feel more comfortable and explore that because like, yeah, who knows?
One of my favorite bits that you do in your comedy, obviously, is your song about your high school bully.
I hope my bully chokes on 1,000 chodes. I hope he chokes on a chode and then chokes on another chode.
If you want to kind of give us a little rundown, and I'll tell you why I feel like it's like so funny and has stuck with me.
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, I wrote it when I was doing comedy like 2019 in New York, and before I would perform, I would get this kind of feeling of like, you're not this crazy, wild, confident performer. You're this quiet, shy bully kid. And I would like think about my bully before I would go on stage.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of like dissonance that made me kind of write about it and process it. And I think it And it was a real thing that I drunk messaged. I got really drunk and messaged him like, why'd you do it? You know? And then I woke up the next day like, how do I delete this?
Yeah, so did he actually?
He actually did respond in actually like a very kind, nice way.
Okay.
But it was just kind of like dealing with like, because I feel like in college and post-college and you're like kind of figuring out, okay, what is my place in the world? Why do I exist? What am I? And then you're like processing like, okay, am I? And I'm like, oh, okay, like realizing the effect, how big of an effect the bullying had on me and my psyche.
For sure.
And like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm down for the count. I have to prove to them that I'm worthy, you know, like, so I think I was like realizing all that stuff. And so like basically for this song, it's about like wanting revenge on the bully and, you know, hoping he chokes on it. And then like in the end,
On a
like,
what?
on a chode. Chode is what it was. And then and there was a lyric in the song. It's like, I do anything to be famous to prove the bully's wrong. So I do comedy. Comedy is the only thing that sticks. I know it's so fine. I'll keep doing comedy. I don't give a shit about the craft. And so there's like, it's funny because I do love comedy and I love the craft, but there also is like, there's the part of me that's like, I need to be famous to prove them wrong, you know?
Yes. Which is, by the way, whether it's disclosed or not, is what not every comedian, but like
sure,
either they say it or you can feel
it.
That does have some real basis for
100%
why they're making these life decisions.
Yes, 100%. Like I love the craft of comedy. I love doing it, but I'm not gonna lie that there's this definite part that's like, I need to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Beat them, you know. Yeah.
Do you want to be famous, or because you're in the process of having a following, and like you're certainly you're en route on a scale of 0 to 10. If 10 is like who's the most famous person you know, Lady Gaga maybe?
Yeah, Lady Gaga.
Like where would you put yourself?
Wait, where would I put myself?
yeah. What did you think?
Bitch, like a 2.
You're definitely higher than 2.
Well, okay.
What I'm saying is like you are becoming more famous.
So, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're welcome.
When I like wrote that song, and when I was doing that, I'm like, there is like I'm like, oh, it's for the fame. I gotta get fame, and I gotta do this thing. But you know, also, I think being in LA and being actually exposed. Because this was in New York, and this was when I was a dog walker. I was accompanying piano. I wasn't making a living off of comedy. So I think I had this view of like, I need everyone who's famous has it figured out, and this is what I need to be. Actually meeting famous people and being around famous people, I'm like, oh my God, they're crazy and and wild. So I'm like, actually, maybe. Just to try to do things that make me feel creatively fulfilled and do that, you know.
For me, not that I've met any A-list Lady Gagas, but it's been pretty jarring how many people I've met who've been in some way on the spectrum of famous. And
yes.
Like, oh my God, like without a doubt, there's some level of crazy. Like no acceptance.
Crazy, and also it's also like the fame actually to their life is really kind of not good. It's like you think of, because like it is this like tale as old as time. It's like the fame, it's not all it seems to be, but like actually seeing that it really is like it's a stressor, and it's like people like you can't do certain things, and it kind of like it becomes this thing of like it's not like the famous people are not like, oh my, on every moment, like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I am famous. And that fame. Yeah. It's this like, there's a bunch of different, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it was kind of like realizing like, oh my God, there's a just trying to do makes you feel happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a very, I think, mature and also simple way of just living it because
Sure. I think I still do have a little high school part that's like, I need a man who can conquer the world.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, there's still that, probably.
Thank you for your candor because a lot of people, comedians more than me. Like, I kind of feel like to some way you have to at least not hate fame. Like, you have to kind of want some aspect of it a little bit, or at least enough to like fuel the engine that is your career.
And when it comes to like a career, like your goal when you're focusing on your career, building audience, getting the most eyes on you as possible, making people love and want to see you. That's a part of fame is like a part of the thing of the career that's like built into it. So it's like, you know, when people say like, I don't want fame. And it's like, but when you're working so hard on like your career, it's like, that's what you're doing. You're putting in the work so you can't go to a grocery store or whatever.
Dylan Adler, thank you for speaking your truth and for being honest because I feel like we're not talking enough about how much people want fame. I wanted fame. I was someone who basically chased fame, like fame over money. But also I think it's important for us to like address and admit to ourselves, am I doing something because I want to be famous? Like that was huge for my development in my later 20s was realizing like, wait, like I don't actually like the craft of being a comedy actor, whatever, as much as I feel like maybe you should if you're going to dedicate your life to it. I kind of like the validation. And it's a little embarrassing for me to, say out loud, but call me Brene Brown. I'm getting vulnerable. Do you feel more of the pressure? Like, because you've gone viral many a time. I mean, I just saw this. You and your brother, in the pool. Your followers know.
Sure.
Like, does that get harder or easier or scarier or none of the above?
Honestly, when it comes to content, if something does well, great. If it doesn't do well, fine. But like, there's always going to be, cool. I don't try to put like a huge preciousness on content. I hate comments will always happen, and they've happened. They've happened since when I've had 2 followers. And that's just something
your
that's
brother
an inevitable.
And your sister?
Yes. And it was from my mom's alt. He's like, this bitch is a top? No.
Yeah, so you're able to just kind of like let it go.
Yeah, and I used to feel like when hate comments happen, I'm like, I have to respond back. But now I'm like, okay. And I just kind of, I don't want to, because you can kind of get sucked into a vortex that's not good for your energy.
Yeah.
And I've gotten sucked into those vortexes in the past, and I'm like at dinner with family, like, yeah! And they're like, bitch, you're pressed. You want to fight. What's happening to you? So I'm like, no, I shouldn't engage.
Yeah. So, I feel like that makes sense to me because I think like the vibe that you give from an external standpoint is that you have like a security, I would say, that like that you're not fazed by any like response or how well something's gonna do. Like you put stuff out there that is, dare I even say, like avant-garde.
If it's something that I'm like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Let's do it and put it out there, whatever. Like with content, I learned like, because I used to feel like I would spend all this time on this one thing that it's like,
and it's your work.
Yeah. But I've learned with content, it is just a matter of like, bam, 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 bam. Don't be precious. And stand-up is one of those things where I'm like, I love it so much and I will always do it. Content is the opposite. It's draining. I don't like doing it. I never know it's going to go viral. And I have fun like filming stuff with people I love and comics that I love, but the process of doing it is like, oh, kill me, But that's why I'm kind of like, okay, yeah. I'm going to be doing this. Let's do this.
Are there things that you want in this at 27 that you're like, oh, it'd be cool, like this is a change that I'm trying to make? You seem content. That's the way that I should have said it.
Oh my God, that's very nice. a change that I want to make is better work-life balance.
Oh.
Saying no to more things.
Oh.
Because it's just kind of like I don't really do things in moderation, and I'm a crazy bitch, and I think like sometimes, yeah. So I want to like kind of have better work-life balance and say no to more things. Have more time to like spend with the people I love, or like have more time to put energy into something that I'm really excited about and invested in and want to keep doing.
I know I said it, but like you're like for sure one of my favorite comedians. And I can't believe I know
That's very
you.
nice. That's truly so nice, Eric.
Of course, yeah. And I'm so happy that we kind of get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, no, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. And
Of course. Isn't he awesome, y'all? That is the episode. No, so true. I hope that you guys enjoyed this and had a grand old time. I loved talking with Dylan. I loved hearing him light up when he was talking about just like how much he loves stand-up comedy, how much he loves the process of it. It's just exciting to see when an artist or a creative or anyone really is doing something because they just love the process of it. And it's not any of the external or byproducts or, things that are dependent on other people. It's like he could do what he does in front of maybe not an empty room, but like it doesn't have to be, Radio City Hall for him to be fulfilled and for him to be happy. And hearing him talk about his relationship, like I loved hearing and seeing that kind of tenderness come out, and I hope you did too. I don't really know if there's much more for me to say other than get excited to tune into the next episode, and I'll see you next time. Yay!